Tonight on Dreadful Visions, we're talking about the thin line between memory and technology. We like to think that cameras show us the truth and that a recording is proof of what really happened. But sometimes, a screen catches something that shouldn't be there. And the scariest part isn't just what you see. It's realizing that the footage has been looping for years and nobody seemed to notice. Story 1. The security camera kept recording someone who wasn't there. Ethan Walker was not a believer in ghosts. He was a practical guy. He believed in things he could fix: broken wires, tired night shift workers, and old security gear that needed an upgrade. That's exactly why he got hired. He'd spent 10 years working the night shift at different places in Arizona, and he was known for staying calm no matter what went wrong. In early March of 2026, he started a new job at the Copper Ridge Mall, just outside Phoenix. Years ago, this mall had been the busiest place in the state. But times changed, people started shopping online, and businesses moved out. By the time Ethan got there, nearly half the mall was empty. One part was totally off limits, the eastern wing. Heavy doors blocked it off, and signs told employees to stay out. Since the renovations were delayed, that whole side of the mall sat in total darkness. Naturally, that was where camera 27 was pointed. The security office was small, filled with monitors showing every corner of the mall. Most nights were quiet. Sometimes he'd see teenagers skating or cleaning crews doing their work. Nothing weird. Until Ethan's fourth night on the job. At exactly 3:14 a.m., a loud alert beeped in the room. Motion detected. Camera 27. Ethan looked at the screen. A woman was walking through the empty hallway of the closed department store. She looked like she was in her mid-20s. She had dark hair, a white jacket, and blue jeans. She was holding 2 shopping bags. She didn't look scared or lost. She looked like someone walking to her car after a normal day of shopping. But something was wrong. That whole wing was locked tight after midnight. Every door needed an access card to open. The log showed that nobody had been in that area for almost a full day. Ethan radioed another guard nearby. The answer came back quickly. "There's nobody here, Ethan." Ethan looked back at the screen. The woman was still walking. She reached the end of the hall and disappeared around the corner. When the guards checked that area a few minutes later, it was empty. No footprints. No open doors. Nothing. The next day, Ethan told his boss what he saw. His boss didn't even look up from his desk. "Camera 27 again? It's just old sensors. Sometimes the lights make it look like someone is there. Don't worry about it." That sounded fair. It was a simple, logical answer. But then, the next night happened. 3:14 a.m. The alert went off again. The woman was back. Same jacket. Same bags. Same calm look on her face. Ethan pulled up the video from the night before and played them side by side. The timing was perfect. Every single step she took matched the previous night. It wasn't just similar, it was exactly the same. Her hair didn't even move differently. It was impossible for a real person to be that perfect 2 nights in a row. By the end of the week, Ethan couldn't ignore it. Every single morning at 3:14 a.m., she appeared. The other guards even made jokes about her, calling her the late customer. Nobody seemed to care, which bothered Ethan more than the woman herself. One night, curiosity got the best of him. He opened the old files to see how far back this went. He looked at footage from 6 months ago. She was there. He looked at a year ago. She was there. For years ago, she was still there. Then, he opened a file from 2020. His blood went cold. 6 years ago, at exactly 3:14 a.m., the same woman was walking down that same hallway. She hadn't aged, and nothing about her had changed. She wasn't just a person. She was a ghost in the system. And she had been walking those halls for as long as the cameras had been watching. The next night, Ethan didn't go home after his shift ended. He stayed. By now, he needed answers. He brought coffee, locked the security office door, and started digging through old records connected to the Eastern Wing. Most of it was boring maintenance paperwork, renovation plans, and insurance documents. But buried inside an archived newspaper file, he found something that made him stop scrolling. July 18, 2008. Electrical fire forces emergency evacuation at Copper Ridge Mall. The article explained that a fire had started inside the department store that once occupied the eastern wing. Hundreds of shoppers escaped safely, but one person was never accounted for. Rebecca Miller, 24 years old, reported missing during the evacuation. Her body was discovered 2 days later after firefighters finally made it through the damaged section of the building. Ethan stared at the photograph attached to the article. Dark hair, white jacket, blue jeans, the exact same woman from camera 27. He leaned back in his chair. It couldn't be. The footage had to be some kind of corruption in the system. Somebody had accidentally copied an old recording onto newer files. That had to be the explanation. Still, one detail kept bothering him. If it was old footage, why did the motion detector activate every single night? And why did it happen live? At 3:10 a.m., Ethan left the office and walked toward the eastern wing. The maintenance doors remained locked. He checked them himself. No signs of tampering. No recent access card entries. Nobody had gone inside. He returned to the control room and fixed his eyes on camera 27. The clock slowly ticked forward. 3:12 a.m. 3:13 a.m. Then, beep. Motion detected. Camera 27. The woman appeared. Same pace. Same shopping bags. Same expression. Ethan watched carefully. For years, she had always done the same thing. Walk the hallway. Turn the corner. Disappear. Tonight, something changed. Halfway down the corridor, she stopped. Ethan's stomach tightened. The recording had never shown her stopping before. For several seconds, she stood perfectly still. Then, very slowly, she turned her head, not toward the hallway, toward the camera, directly toward him. The shopping bag slipped slightly in her hands. Her expression wasn't angry. It wasn't frightening. It looked confused, like someone searching for a familiar face in a crowd. Then, for the first time in 18 years, she took a step toward the camera. The screen filled with static. Every monitor in the room flickered. The lights above Ethan buzzed loudly. And then everything went black. The entire control room lost power. His heart pounded. For almost 30 seconds, the mall sat in complete darkness. Emergency lights finally switched on. Red illumination filled the corridors. Ethan rushed to the monitors. Every camera feed returned, except camera 27. The screen remained frozen. The final image showed Rebecca Miller standing directly in front of the lens, looking straight ahead. And for the first time, her face carried a small, sad smile. Maintenance crews checked the electrical systems the following morning. They found no problems. No explanation for the outage. No damaged equipment. Nothing. Management decided enough was enough. Within a month, they permanently sealed the eastern wing. The old department store was demolished during renovations, and camera 27 was officially removed from service. Ethan transferred to another location shortly afterward. He never worked overnight security again. Years later, however, maintenance workers still shared stories about Copper Ridge Mall. Every few months, somebody would receive an automated alert at exactly 3:14 a.m. Motion detected. Eastern wing. The strange part was obvious. The eastern wing no longer existed, and neither did camera 27. Yet security logs continued recording activity from a device that had been removed years earlier. Most people ignored it. Some laughed about it. But older employees knew the story. They remembered Rebecca Miller, a young woman who went shopping one summer afternoon and never made it home. Maybe the cameras simply captured her final moments. Or maybe some routines become so deeply tied to a place that they continue long after everyone else has moved on. If this story unsettled you, leave a comment and tell me what you think really happened inside that abandoned wing. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more strange stories here on Dreadful Visions. Sleep well tonight, if you can.